Hello everyone and welcome back again. I've gone ahead to get some images that will be some of them will be working with. I forgot to mention you're not just limited to Pinterest. You could also check your Google, or if you have a physical pictures around you, you may have some objects like from a magazine, book, and anywhere physically we can work with that. If you're tracing with your pencil, if it's possible for you to trace with your pencil and paper on top of those pictures, fine, that would be very good. If not, you could place it on your screen. You could place the A4 paper or whatever paper you're working on your screen and follow through with this exercise we are going to be doing. So let's get started. Okay, I have gone ahead to pick some images that we'll be working on. So I trust you have done so as well. So let's start with this shoe. For this, what do you think is the prominent image or shape? What is the prominent shape that can be broken down from this? The first thing that comes to mind is a triangle. Then a rectangle. This is a basic breakdown I could see from this shape. You could see we can also simplify it further. We could say, okay, let's assume this is a box. Another box. Then a tapered box. Then another tapered box. Anyone you prefer works for you, as long as you can break it down to the simplest form. If we can get this like this, we already have an idea of what the shape look like, what the shoe look like. So every object can be broken down in shape. Let's look at it again in a bit different fashion. So basically, this is a shoe. You can see how a shoe is. But you may be saying that, but this is not a shoe. It doesn't look like a shoe to me. Let's take this image out here. Then we craft a real shoe from this. Let's do something like this. like I said, we draw like we are sculpting. So if I'm to refine this further, and I hope you're using your pencil lightly, we could say, okay, remember we talked about curves, right? Good. We could say, okay, there's a curve here, let's curve this place. There's another curve here, you see, and we curve. We're using our pencil, so we could take away some places and add. We are seeing drawing like sculpting. There's a curve here, this place is curvy, we add the curve. There's a curve down here, we create our curve. There's something here like a curve, we create the curve. This part looks curvy, we draw it curve. This part looks curvy, we make it curve. There's a curve here, we curve it. There we link. So where we don't like, we take out. So you use drawing like sculpting. And this. So you see, it's looking more like the shoe. Now, as you can now take your biro, your pen, or a stronger pencil and draw a detailed line on top of this, then erase what's there. So you could practice this using your pencil, drawing it faint, then using a darker pencil to bring out the shape and details you like. So we could now go gradually and say, okay, our shoe goes like this. We are tracing our curve. We could say, okay, we notice there's something here. If it's too complex, you break it down. If not, remember we drew curve. We did curve. And this. So any other thing, okay, now this shoe is a curve. We make the curve. Yeah. Our lace, as you can see, is made of curves, and it's also made of lines, or you could say shape, maybe a rectangle shape, another rectangle but more curve, another rectangle, this one's curved in, another rectangle, then a curve, and this. Sorry. Also, it doesn't have to look exactly, except you're going for an exact replica. We are using this as an illustration. So you get your eraser now and you clean the lines you don't want. 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 Then you also clean your sketches that you don't want. The light sketch. So for something like this, I will draw with my pencil. Then I will use my ballpoint or my biro or ink to make it out. So by the time I erase my pencil, it's looking like this, just from shapes. So anything else that you want to do is just adding more details. You feel, okay, I need this, I could do this. Then if you want to draw these lines, you may focus on it. But the basic shape is this. We've drawn a shoe just by breaking it down to shapes. Let's look at another shoe, the same kind of shoe, in another light. This one actually now, it's same but a bit different. Different in the sense that it looks more perspective and it has the bottom. I'm sure something like this is easy for you to draw. So I'm choosing my pencil. I like to use a pencil pack. Where's my pencil? Let me see this. Great. I'm using digital, but it's the same with the same techniques of drawing. I actually drew this way with my pen and paper, and it's the same thing I've transferred to my digital medium. So for something like this, let's say it's perspective, what do you think? I think it looks coney for me. I could say yeah is more like or cone. Our 3D shape. Yeah, maybe kind of cylinder. Then another cylinder placed on top. You see? So the perspective now gives us more depth. We are looking at it from 3 angles. There's this angle, then there's another angle. Your X, Y, Z can go either here or there. So if we look at just here, it gives us X. This is how it looks like. Let me erase it to give you a better picture. So we've gotten the basic shape here. If I'm to take this picture out of the equation, I can now, I'll say, okay, this is the cone. So here could just, I'm making a curve, I'm marking the curve, I'm marking my curves, I'm marking my curves, I'm marking my curves, I'm marking where it needs to be curved. Here, you could see here showing you the inside curve, and here, curve, here, curve. So when you mark it now, you know how to approach this. There's a curve here. So it goes like this, it comes like this, and it curves. So I can easily show this, which is the inside. Now as I'm drawing, I could clean here so it's more clarified for me. I could clean it when drawing. Now I've gotten this top just by making things look easy. Don't be afraid if it's not looking as much as you want instantly. You keep working it out. Then I notice here it has a curve like the line. We may have to say, okay, let's do that. So we break this curve here, then this curve here, then where it cuts here, then we take this, then remember our curve, we curve it, another curve, we curve it, then go straight. If you could look at it, it's not perfectly straight, so don't beat yourself up. We can now decide to, oh, this is okay for me, but mark you where we added this. We could say, okay, it goes, then yeah. We're just breaking this to fit our narrative. It doesn't have to be perfectly the same, but we're trying to make it to look as much as possible. So this is the idea. We can add more details, but for now I'm focusing on giving you the shape and how shape could turn into what you are drawing. So any other thing, you add more details. For this one, you might say it's a bit confusing for you. Follow the curves first, then you add width. So the idea is to break this down, then you enlarge it. Break this down, then get the right image, the right, I was gonna say something, like I say, you can now enlarge it, turn it into and whatever you don't like, as usual, you erase. So we'll be focusing more on drawing making some more detailed drawing, but for now I'm just showing you how to break it down into curves and into shape rather, than using your curves to finalize on them. Let's look at a chair. It looks complex right now, but this really is the easiest to break into shape. Why am I saying this? This is a rectangle, another rectangle, then a white square. Or we could use this as it's just one big cuboid, and from drawing cuboid, you know how to draw it the same way we drew a cube. Doesn't matter how you start, if it's from this angle, depending on the perspective. It's facing this way, this is facing this way. I come down here and I draw my cube. As you can see, like what I always say, your eraser now, we erase what we don't want to see. This is why the eraser is really perfect. We've gotten this basic shape. There's another shape here now. It's still a cuboid. So we clean. Or if you don't want to do that way, just see it as a big rectangle, and here another rectangle. We've broken that part of the shape. For me, this is another rectangle. They have lots of triangle, a triangle shape, a triangle shape, and maybe a triangle shape. So I will now clean what I don't want. It's looking more like it. Let me do that again using a different color so it's much clearer. So this is too light. You could see a rectangle, a triangle, a triangle, maybe a triangle here, a triangle. Then we clean what we don't want. So we draw it like we're sculpting. And that's that for this part. I always like to attack the bigger shapes first, the prominent, the obvious shape, then we now break it down to smaller shape. So the same thing here. This is obviously a long I am tapering it down, but you can do without tapering it. It's tapered. I can decide to do it and cut it. I can decide to draw without tapering, but we learn to adjust as we draw. So that's why I spoke about tapering, bending, seeing your 2D, 3D shapes with a much more flexibility. If I don't want to do the tapering, I could bend it like this. This is a different chair. So it's the same rectangle, but they tapered it here, so it's not even shape to give it a different blend. The same thing here too. A triangle, a rectangle stopped here, then a tapered. You could see my drawing. It doesn't have to be accurate. If I don't get it, I erase. You make your eraser, you're careful, and you erase, and you start all over again. So these are one of the reasons why we did those line practice. So we have that we can make it look like this. A curve, an angle. So you can see we are bringing out different shape from these objects. The same thing here. Here is a bit trickish. I could cut it here, or I stop here, step out a bit. I draw another rectangle. I draw another rectangle and another slanted rectangle and a tapered rectangle, another rectangle, and this. So this is much easy because it's filled with just rectangle and cuboid, triangle. So by the time you close, you look at the image like this, we've drawn our chair. All we just need to do is clean what we don't want to see. Oh no, I'm cleaning the wrong thing. I may need to bring the object away. We need to take away so we could see it much clearly. Then ideally these things you draw without, you don't draw on top of the image. We are using this as a to break down how it looks. The other classes we will do, the other lessons rather, we'll have to draw without, we'll draw looking at it, but we are breaking down the shape. That will be much more challenging than this, but this helps you to see our process, what we are going to do, what we are going to be doing. So we are breaking everything down into shapes. So there you have it, your chair. So we're able to draw it from that image, but it's shaped. The next, for more subsequent ones, we'll draw by just looking at it. But for now, let us learn to break objects. Let's extract objects from pictures. So you could draw on top of your magazine shapes. You could draw on top of any picture you see. Don't use personal picture so you don't ruin it. Any newspaper, magazine, you could also place your paper on top of a screen, your laptop screen, and trace the image out, draw it out. So practice more and practice more. We'll look at more shapes breakdown in our next lesson.